Welcome, everyone. Let's talk Palantir earnings. They report tomorrow after the bell, so I figured it was a good time to talk about Palantir. I don't own the stock anymore, but I attend earnings every quarter because it's super entertaining. I think they're probably the most hyped company right now and have been for the last year and a half or two. If you were an early shareholder from 2020, that was not the case for the first 3.5 or 4 years. So, really awesome to see everyone doing so well with their Palantir investments over the last 2 years. I think the most important thing to talk about with Palantir is their artificial intelligence platform. It was released in April 2023, and you can actually see on my screen right here in fiscal.ai, it was right here on this downtrend of revenue growth. They released AIP, and this is soon after the launch of ChatGPT. So the timing was impeccable, and you can just when they release AIP, their growth trajectory goes back up, and so Palantir's grown 12% to 63% in the latest quarter, which is just unheard of. Not to mention their free cash flow margin is, well, extraordinary, especially for a company that's doing $1 billion in revenue a quarter, almost 1.5 billion, I'm sure soon. That's really just crazy. And to me, that what that means, especially with AI, it means they're going to probably see that expand over time. Whether the stock price goes up or down, I think Palantir is going to continue to grow pretty quickly, and they don't need as many employees as they used to, especially with there's talk of the AI FDEs, which it'd be really cool to see what that all looks like specifically. But yeah, I think AIP basically, I always describe it as Palantir was like, okay, we need several SpaceX Raptor engines. They call up Elon Musk and they're like, okay, we need these. But they don't actually do that. It's just the AIP. But AIP is literally, they're just strapping these Raptor engines to their business, and clearly they've done pretty well with it. But I think, let's go more, let's go another direction with that. I think there's more there. So obviously AIP, FDEs, ontology, all of that. But what is the ontology, and why was AIP so important to it? So, in Palantir's sense, the ontology, you can think of it like a digital map. I know it's kind of like people are thinking that ontology is just like buzzword, which I think when used in the wrong context, maybe it's a buzzword, but ontology is an ancient word. And I'll get more into that. But in terms of Palantir, their ontology is a digital map of an organization. So if you're Palantir, you have various customers, and you're providing the value that's going to your top and bottom line in the fact that you're mapping your customer's organization in a digital way. You're presenting them the ground truth of the organization. So if you're a CEO of Heinz, and you hire Palantir, Heinz ketchup, and Palantir goes in, they map your organization digitally in a digital twin, and you're looking through and you're starting to understand what your organization actually is. It could go completely against what you thought was happening. So it presents you a ground truth that could be contradictory to what you believe your organization is. So it's a state of being. Palantir provides you a digital snapshot of your company's state of being, and then the delta between that snapshot and your interpretation or your perspective on your business, that's where the value starts. You're like, oh, you have to confront that. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know this is different than how I thought my organization was. So this is what your organization is. And then once you have that foundation, you build on that foundation into the future. Now, I know that sounds a little bit abstract, but that's where the value is. That you're finding that your digital state of being, and then from that truth, you can work your way towards becoming a more profitable business yourself. So, what are the actual origins of ontology, though? So, I mentioned earlier that it's an ancient word, and this is true. Ontology dates back to, here, I pulled up some resources for you. Ontology dates back all the way to ancient Greek times. So we're talking Heraclitus, Aristotle. It's talked about in Aristotle's Metaphysics. And back then they're talking about it as like a way of being or a state of being, essentially. And then you don't hear about, I mean, I'm sure it's discussed, but we're not going to do a full philosophy lecture, but it's not really reintroduced until the 20th century by the German philosopher Martin Heidegger. And he basically reintroduces the concept of ontology to society in a philosophical sense, as a mode of being. And also he expands on ontology with aletheia. I think it's pronounced in English, it's spelled one way versus the ancient Greek way, but I believe it's called aletheia, which is I believe is it's specifically defined as unconcealment, which I don't think that's something that that is talked about. So unconcealment, or it's like truth finding, right? So the ontology is a state of being, but it's also a mode of unconcealment or a mode of truth finding. And this goes like I said, it goes all the way back to ancient Greek times. It's known as the first philosophy. So you have this terminology, aletheia and ontology, dating back to Aristotle, Heraclitus, and others. Martin Heidegger reintroduces the terminology and expands upon it. It's really core to his entire philosophical project. He expands on it in the 20th century. And Palantir has essentially, Palantir has reintroduced ontology to the world in the form of their digital twin, their products. And so they get a lot of credit for that. I think this is something that's profound. It's not a buzzword at all. The ontology is profound because if you don't understand, whether you're a company, a person, a nation, a people's, if you don't understand the ground truth of who you are historically, I mean, how do you know what actions to take in, where you're going? The ontology is this mode of aletheia, or unconcealing the truth, which is hidden, so that you can take steps to build a better future. And so that's really what it is. There's tons and tons of primary sources on this. This is just internet links, but Aristotle's Metaphysics, there's a primary source on that. This is from Stanford.edu. But there's the Heraclitus fragments. I believe it's Parmenides has a poem where he talks about this way, way, way back, like 500 BC. So I thought it'd be interesting to, just talk about Palantir, the stock and the company and the financials there. But like, what is the ontology? It's like, well, ontology, we provide this like really abstract thing, but it's not. It's just, we're so kind of stuck in our thinking in modern society. And I've heard it phrased that we're in the dark ages. And so if we're in the dark ages, something like ontology would of course feel pretty strange. Might feel like a buzzword, but really what's happened is Palantir and their leaders, Dr. Karp, Peter Thiel, they're incredible engineers, have unconcealed this like ancient philosophical terminology and have transmuted it into a technological capability that we are using to fuel the AI revolution. So extremely profound. Let me know what you think. Hoping to make more videos like this, but we're just kind of experimenting. So have a good night. Enjoy Palantir earnings.